Here's something nobody tells you about happiness. The moment you start chasing it, it runs away, like trying to grab water with your fist. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it escapes. And we've all been squeezing for so long, we don't even realize we're doing it anymore. Think about your day. How many times do you check in with yourself, asking, am I happy right now? Is this making me happy? Should I be happier? It's like constantly poking a wound to see if it's healing, and then wondering why it never does. The most counterintuitive secret to happiness is this: you have to stop wanting it. Not in some spiritual bypass way where you pretend you don't care, but in a way where you finally see that the wanting itself is what's blocking it. The effort to be happy is what's making you miserable. Let me show you how this works. Imagine happiness is like sleep. You know how when you really need to fall asleep, when you're lying there trying hard to sleep, it becomes impossible. The trying pushes it away. Your body tenses. Your mind starts racing. You check the clock. You calculate how many hours you have left. And suddenly you're more awake than ever. But the moment you stop trying, when you just lie there and accept that maybe you won't sleep tonight, something shifts. The pressure lifts. Your body relaxes. And before you know it, you're gone. Happiness works the same way. Every time you ask yourself, am I happy? You create distance between you and the feeling. Because now you're not experiencing life. You're evaluating it. You're standing outside of the moment, judging it, measuring it, comparing it to some idea of what happiness should feel like. And that gap between the experience and the evaluation is where misery lives. Here's what nobody prepared you for. You've been trained your entire life to chase happiness. Every commercial, every movie, every self-help book tells you the same thing. Do this and you'll be happy. Buy this and you'll be happy. Become this and you'll be happy. So you do it. You buy the thing, achieve the goal, get the relationship, reach the milestone, and for a moment, maybe you feel something. A brief spark, but then it fades, and you're back where you started, looking for the next thing that will finally make you happy. This isn't because you're broken. It's because the whole game is rigged. You're playing by rules that were designed to keep you running, because a person who's content doesn't consume, doesn't chase, doesn't need the next thing. But a person who's always almost happy, who believes happiness is just one purchase, one achievement, one change away. That person never stops running. And the cruelest part is, the running itself becomes the problem. Not the lack of things, not the circumstances, not the life you have, but the constant movement away from what is, toward what you think should be. Because happiness isn't a destination. It's not something you arrive at after you fix everything. After you get your life together. After you become the person you think you should be. Happiness is what's here when you stop running. When you stop trying to be anywhere other than where you are. Think about the times you've actually felt happy. Really happy. Not the forced smile happiness, not the I should be grateful happiness, but the kind that just fills you for no reason. I'll bet it wasn't when you were trying to be happy. It was when you forgot to check, when you were so absorbed in something, so present, so here, that there was no space left for the question, am I happy? Maybe you were laughing with someone, or watching the sunset, or completely focused on something you love. And the happiness wasn't because the moment was perfect. It was because you weren't evaluating the moment. You were just in it. That's the secret. Happiness isn't something you create by getting the right conditions. It's what's already here when you stop demanding that life be different. But we've been taught the opposite. We've been taught that if we're not happy, something needs to change. Something needs to be fixed. We need to work harder, try more, do better. And if we're still not happy after all that effort, we must be doing something wrong. So we read more books, take more courses, try new techniques, positive thinking, gratitude journals, affirmations. All of it aimed at the same goal, finally being happy. And none of it works. Not because the techniques are bad, but because the entire approach is backwards. You're trying to think your way into feeling different, trying to force yourself into a state that can't be forced. It's like trying to relax by tensing every muscle in your body. The effort defeats the purpose. Here's what changed everything for me. I stopped trying to be happy, not because I gave up, but because I realized the trying was the problem. Every time I asked myself, why am I not happy? I was reinforcing the belief that I wasn't. I was looking for what was wrong. And of course, I always found something. Because when you're looking for problems, you find problems. When you're scanning your life for what's missing, you'll always find something missing. Not because your life is lacking, but because that's what you're looking for. But what if you stopped looking? What if you stopped trying to fix yourself, improve yourself, make yourself into someone who deserves to be happy? What if you just let yourself be? By the way, our shared space of light and awareness is on its way to 100,000 people. Thank you to everyone who subscribes and brings this moment closer. So let's talk about what happens when you stop chasing happiness. Because this is where it gets strange and beautiful. The first thing you notice is how much energy you were spending on the chase. All that effort, all that striving, all that constant evaluation of whether you're happy enough, doing enough, being enough. It's exhausting, and you didn't even realize it until you stopped. It's like you've been carrying a heavy backpack your whole life, and someone finally says, you can put that down. And you do, and suddenly you can breathe. But here's the counterintuitive part. When you stop chasing happiness, you don't become numb. You don't stop feeling. You actually feel more, because you're not filtering everything through the question, is this making me happy? You're just experiencing what's here. The good, the bad, the boring, the beautiful. All of it, without needing it to be different. And something strange happens in that space. Happiness starts showing up on its own. Not the manufactured kind. Not the, I finally got what I wanted kind. But the quiet kind. The kind that doesn't announce itself. The kind that's just there, underneath everything, like a hum you didn't notice until everything else got quiet. Most people think happiness is loud. They think it's excitement, pleasure, peak experiences. And sure, those things feel good. But they're not happiness. They're just intense sensations. They come and they go. And when they're gone, you're left chasing the next high. But real happiness, the kind that lasts, is quiet. It's not about feeling amazing all the time. It's about being okay with whatever you're feeling. It's the peace that comes from not needing life to be different. Think of it like this. You're walking down the street, nothing special happening, just a regular day. And suddenly you notice the light hitting the buildings in a certain way. Or you hear a bird. Or you smell something that reminds you of childhood. And for just a moment, Everything is perfect exactly as it is. That's happiness. Not because the moment is special, but because you're not asking it to be special. You're not comparing it to other moments. You're not thinking about what you don't have or what you wish was different. You're just here, fully here. And in that presence, there's a kind of joy that doesn't need a reason, but we miss it. We miss it constantly because we're too busy looking for happiness to notice it's already here. Here's the trap. We think we need to feel a certain way to be happy. We think happiness is this specific emotional state, this elevated mood, this absence of problems. And as long as we don't feel that way, we think we're not happy. So we wait. We wait for the circumstances to be right. We wait for the problems to be solved. We wait to feel the way we think we should feel. And while we're waiting, life is happening. Real life, with all its messy, imperfect, ordinary moments. And we're missing it because we're looking for something else. But what if happiness isn't a feeling at all? What if it's not something you feel, but something you are when you stop trying to feel anything in particular? What if happiness is just the absence of resistance? The absence of that constant inner voice saying, "This isn't it. This isn't enough. I need something else." When that voice stops, when you stop fighting with reality, what's left is peace. And that peace feels like happiness. Not because anything changed in your life, but because everything changed in your relationship to your life. You stop seeing your life as a problem to be solved. Stop seeing yourself as a project to be fixed. Stop seeing happiness as something you need to earn or achieve or create. And you start seeing that it was always here, just buried under all that effort. Let me give you an example. You're sitting in traffic. Normally, this would make you miserable. You'd be thinking about how you're late, how this always happens, how your day is ruined. All that resistance creates stress, anger, frustration, and you call that being unhappy because of the traffic. But the traffic isn't making you unhappy. Your resistance to the traffic is making you unhappy. The traffic is just traffic. It's neutral. It only becomes a problem when you think it shouldn't be there. Now imagine the same traffic, but you're not resisting it. You're not fighting it in your mind. You're just sitting there. Maybe you notice your breathing. Maybe you listen to the sound of the engine. Maybe you just watch the light change. You're still in traffic. Nothing about the external situation changed. But you're not suffering, because you're not arguing with what is. And in that acceptance, there's actually a kind of peace. Maybe even happiness. Not because traffic is fun, but because you're not making it mean something about your life, your luck, your worth. You're just here, in this moment, without needing it to be different. This is what the secret is pointing to. Happiness isn't about getting the good moments and avoiding the bad ones. It's about being okay with whatever moment is here. It's about dropping the resistance, dropping the constant evaluation, dropping the story that life should be different than it is. And when you drop all that, what's left is surprisingly light. There's still pain sometimes, still disappointment, still challenges, but they're not heavy anymore. They're just weather, just things passing through. And underneath, you're still okay. Most people hear this and think it means giving up, think it means accepting a mediocre life, just settling, but it's the opposite. When you stop resisting what is, you actually have more energy to engage with life. Because you're not wasting it all on fighting reality. You can still want things, still have goals, still make changes, but you're doing it from a place of peace, not from a place of, I'm not okay until I get this. And that changes everything, because when you're chasing happiness, you're running from a deficit. You're trying to fill a hole, and no matter what you achieve, the hole is still there. Because the hole isn't real. It's just the belief that you're not enough as you are. But when you stop chasing, when you realize you're already okay, you're not running anymore. You're moving toward things because they interest you, because they express something in you, because they're aligned with who you are, not because you need them to make you happy. And paradoxically, that's when life gets good. Not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped making your happiness conditional on outcomes. Now here's where everything shifts. And this is what most people never discover because they're still stuck in the chase. The secret isn't just that you stop pursuing happiness. It's that you start seeing what happiness actually is. And it's nothing like what you thought. You thought happiness was a feeling, an emotion, something that comes and goes based on what's happening in your life. But it's not. Happiness is what you are when you're not being anything else. It's not a state you achieve. It's what remains when you stop trying to achieve states. Think of it like the sky. The sky doesn't try to be clear. It's just there. Sometimes there are clouds, sometimes storms, sometimes perfect blue, but the sky itself never changes. It's always just space, holding whatever weather passes through. You're the same way. You're not your emotions. You're not your thoughts. You're not your circumstances. You're the awareness that holds all of it. And that awareness is always at peace, always okay, always, in a sense, happy. Not because everything is perfect, but because it doesn't need to be. When you realize this, everything changes. Because you stop identifying with the weather. You stop thinking, I'm anxious, or I'm sad, or I'm not happy. Instead, you start seeing, there's anxiety here, there's sadness here, there's a thought that says, I should be happier. And when you see it that way, you're not trapped in it anymore. You're just watching it, like clouds passing through the sky. And the watching itself is peaceful. The awareness itself is content. This is the secret. Not that you stop wanting happiness, but that you realize you've been happiness all along. You've been the peace you were seeking. You've been the okayness that you thought you needed to create. It was just covered up by all your efforts to find it. So, what does life look like when you stop chasing happiness? It doesn't mean you become passive. It doesn't mean you stop caring about things or stop trying to improve your life. It means you stop making your inner state dependent on external conditions. You can still pursue goals, but you're not doing it because you think achieving them will finally make you happy. You're doing it because it's interesting, because it's meaningful, because it expresses something in you. You can still feel disappointment when things don't work out, but you're not devastated, because your happiness wasn't riding on the outcome. You were already okay before, and you're still okay after. You can still enjoy good things when they happen. Actually, you enjoy them more, because you're not anxiously trying to hold on to them, afraid they'll disappear and take your happiness with them. You're just appreciating them while they're here. This is what freedom looks like. Not the freedom to have everything you want, but the freedom from needing anything to be different than it is. the beautiful thing is, when you're not desperate for life to make you happy, life actually gets better. Not because the circumstances magically improve, but because you're finally present for them. You're finally here in your actual life, instead of some fantasy future where you'll finally be happy. Think about how much of your life you've missed because you were waiting for it to be different. Waiting for the right moment, the right feeling, the right circumstances. Meanwhile, your life was happening. Real moments, real opportunities, real connections. And you were somewhere else, in your head, planning for a future that never quite arrives. But when you stop waiting, when you stop postponing your okayness until conditions are met, you're finally here. And here is where life happens. Here is where love happens. Here is where joy happens. Not in some imagined future, but right now, in this moment, exactly as it is. Does this mean you'll never feel sad? Never feel frustrated? Never have problems? Of course not. Life is still life. Challenges still come. Losses still happen. Pain is still part of the deal. But here's what changes. You stop seeing those things as obstacles to your happiness. You stop thinking, I'll be happy when this is over, when this is fixed, when this changes. You realize that happiness isn't on the other side of your problems. It's here, in your capacity to be with your problems without falling apart. It's in the strength to face what's hard, in the openness to feel what hurts, in the willingness to not know what's next. That's where real happiness lives, not in the absence of difficulty, but in your ability to remain okay even when things aren't. And once you taste that, once you feel what it's like to be fundamentally okay, regardless of what's happening, you can't unsee it. You can still get caught up in the drama, still forget, still start chasing again. But there's always this knowing underneath. You don't need anything to be different. You're already what you were looking for. This is the most counterintuitive secret to happiness. Stop trying to be happy and discover you already are. Not because your life is perfect, not because you have everything you want, but because happiness was never about any of that. It was always about this moment, this breath, this awareness that's here regardless of what's happening. And the moment you see that, really see it, everything relaxes. The chase ends. The seeking stops. Not because you gave up, but because you finally came home to yourself, to this moment, to the peace that was always here, just waiting for you to stop running long enough to notice it. So what now? How do you actually live this? It's simple, but not easy. You just start noticing. Notice when you're evaluating your happiness. Notice when you're comparing this moment to how you think it should be. Notice when you're resisting what's here. And in that noticing, there's space. You don't have to fix it. Don't have to change it. Just notice it. And in that moment of noticing, you're not caught in it anymore. You're aware of it. And that awareness is already free. Do this enough and something shifts. The chase loses its grip. The constant dissatisfaction fades. Not because life got better, but because you stopped arguing with it. And what's left is simple. You're here. Life is here. And that's enough. That's always been enough. You just had to stop trying to make it more to realize it was already everything. If this video changed something in you, write in the comments, I'm already home. Write it as your promise to stop running. Nobody